Look at this beautiful piece of land on the coast in Puerto Rico. Now imagine a luxury development here. Multi-million-dollar residences with ocean views, multiple hotels, and golf courses. That's what they want to build here in Cabo Rojo. Some say it'll bring economic development and job opportunities to the area. Others say it'll lead to the destruction of their natural resources and the privatization of their beaches. And they say they won't allow it.
Esencia no. Esencia no.
Esencia would have more than 1,000 tourist residences and over 500 hotel units built on land that spans 3 miles of beach.
Tendrían 2 campos de golf, una escuela privada, un centro comercial, en fin, es una ciudad dentro de otra ciudad.
The investors behind Esencia are the Reuben brothers, 2 British billionaires whose family was named the 3rd richest in the UK last year. And they're partnering with 3 Rules Capital, real estate investors and developers who say they specialize in luxury residential and resort communities. Most of Esencia's Instagram videos are in English, and they invite potential buyers to find their esencia. Esencia means essence in Spanish.
A veces cuando pensamos en esencia, pensamos en perfumes buenos, en el olor de la comida deliciosa, pero esta esencia apesta, esta esencia hiede, huele mal. Esencia es el epítome de lo que es la gentrificación.
Janet Ramos Garcia has been leading the resistance against Esencia.
Feliz de estar aquí, combativa.
Even interrupting a meeting with the mayor of Cabo Rojo to express their opposition to the project.
Hay que decirle no a esencia.
At that meeting, this was caught on camera.
Gracias por empujarme.
A woman appeared to intentionally elbow Janet.
¿La vista que me empujó?
Janet says the woman is an employee at the mayor's office and that what she did to her was violent, but that so is the proposed project Esencia. Janet says it is violent to destroy the natural resources of this area and displace the people of this community.
El desplazamiento, aunque digan lo contrario, va a ocurrir.
Esencia is just one recent example of a trend happening in Puerto Rico. Residences built for the rich in towns where a high percentage of people live in poverty.
Y no son casas para gente común, es para gente millonaria.
Jaime Cretov Vargas has lived and fished in Cabo Rojo his entire life. He worries that a luxury project like Esencia will turn this area into an exclusive enclave, like what happened in the town of Dorado. In 2012, the Puerto Rican government started offering generous tax breaks to attract rich people, and Dorado became a popular destination among wealthy outsiders moving here. The most expensive houses sold in Puerto Rico in the last couple of years were in Dorado, the most recent one for $29 million. Look at what has happened to the poverty rate in Dorado since 2012. It has gone down 7%, but look at income inequality over the same time period. It has gone up, and it is now higher than in the rest of Puerto Rico. This suggests that more wealth has arrived in Dorado in the last decade, but is concentrated in fewer hands. Meanwhile, the population of Dorado over the last 10 years, much like the rest of Puerto Rico, has been going down, as people are forced to move away in search of jobs and affordable housing. The people of Dorado have also lost access to this beach. On paper, it's illegal to privatize beaches in Puerto Rico, but in practice, some like this one have become private. This beach is inaccessible to the public because the Dorado Beach Resort stands in between the street and the coast, and there are no access points through the resort.
Mismo prometieron un montón de cosas bonitas y ahora tú vas y lo que haces te reciben unos guardias de la orilla.
I did the 2-mile walk to try to reach the beach with a local resident, and we encountered guards on one side who made sure we didn't step on the land the resort has claimed, and rocks on the other that made it impossible to get there. So in practice, this beach is reserved for the owners of these $18 million mansions and their guests.
Cuando ellos llegan, se apoderan.
Jaime and his family like to camp at Los Pozos, a beach in Cabo Rojo that would be part of the 3-mile stretch of coast in front of Esencia. He worries that if the luxury project is built, locals will no longer be welcome at this beach. But the developers of Esencia say they will guarantee 4 public access points to the beach, with parking spaces, bathrooms, and a walkway that would look like this. But those roads to the beach would not be accessible from the street. Instead, they would all connect to Esencia's main entrance that developers say will be open to the public. We have been trying to interview the developers of Esencia for several months, but they did not agree to answer our questions on camera.
Esencia sí es progreso.
They have been running paid promotions in different media where they say, quote, Esencia is progress. They say the project will bring increased economic activity to Cabo Rojo, including supporting almost 5,000 jobs. It's one of the reasons the mayor says he's endorsing the development, under the condition that they meet environmental regulations.
Estos proyectos necesitan ingenieros, necesitan abogados, necesitan arquitectos en el hospital, pues las personas de la salud.
¿A cambio de qué? ¿De destruirnos la naturaleza?
Esencia's developers are planning to build on protected land. See, in Puerto Rico, there's land classified SREPE, or Specially Protected Rustic Soil Ecological, and building on it is prohibited under the archipelago's land use plan. But according to Esencia's proposal, the developers would build hotels and residences on land classified SREPE.
El proyecto, según está planteado en este lugar, no puede autorizarse.
Pedro Cardona Roig used to be vice president of the government agency in charge of classifying land. He helped design the map with the land protections, and he says Esencia's plan should have been rejected from the beginning.
Esto ya de entrada, cuando se presenta la primera solicitud, el Estado le tenía que decir, miren, esto que ustedes están planteando en este lugar no puede suceder.
The documents that developers and the government exchange when developers are trying to get a project approved are supposed to be public. So we requested access to the files for 3 projects, including Esencia. But the government agency wanted to charge us thousands of dollars for those documents. That would have been an obstacle standing in the way of our right to access public information. So we sued them. And the court ordered the agency to give us access to that information for free. Here's what the documents reveal.
At least 2 agencies have gone on record saying the proposed project would be harmful to the area. The Department of Natural Resources said, quote, a development like the one proposed would have the impact of waterproofing the land. See, water usually filters through the land, but when it is covered with concrete, water can no longer get through, which means it can't reach the aquifers. So according to the agency, the construction of Esencia could lead to a decline in the capacity of aquifers in Cabo Rojo. Meanwhile, Esencia proponents say they will extract underground water to meet the project's needs. They also say they only want to build on 25% of the land and keep the other 75% as green areas. But they included the 2 golf courses within that 75%. In response to that, a field officer from the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife wrote that golf courses are, quote, highly developed lands that require high maintenance with regards to water and pesticide-herbicide use. Therefore, golf courses should not be considered green areas. Esencia would also be built next to a natural reserve.
Aquí están proponiendo alterar la esencia de esas reservas para un beneficio y un lucro de unos inversionistas versus el bienestar y estabilidad de unos sistemas naturales y de toda una población.
Despite all the environmental concerns, the government of Puerto Rico approved almost $500 million in tax credits for the project. Esencia was also named a strategic project by the government. And then the new governor of Puerto Rico signed an executive order to expedite the permits for projects deemed strategic.
¿Cómo usted concedió un decreto de exención y créditos contributivos a una actividad que no se puede autorizar bajo su propia política pública?
If the permits to build on protected land are approved, Esencia would also follow another trend: construction in other parts of Puerto Rico on land that was not supposed to be built on, according to local regulations.
Aquí hay ciertamente una conexión entre los que están adentro y los que están afuera. Aquí hay un acuerdo entre partes para hacer actos que son ilegales.
The group opposing the project is called the Committee for the True Essence of Puerto Rico Southwest. And instead of Esencia, the activists say they would like to see an ecological corridor to promote tourism in the area while also protecting the ecosystem.
En lugar de tener empleos en construcción o empleos en servicio a estos millonarios y millonarias que van a venir, tendremos guías para el área, podemos tener fotografías en el área, podemos invitar a los pescadores a que vengan y funcionen como charters, que el gobierno dé permiso para charters para que venga la gente a bucear, a snorkear en el área y vean la vida marina que hay.
But the land where Esencia is being proposed is private. The developers have spent almost $130 million buying more than 1,000 acres from local owners. But even if privately owned, the protections to the land still apply. And the opponents of Esencia say they will keep the pressure on to make sure those protections are respected.
Voy a traer aquí un poema de Virgilio Dávila que dice: no des tu tierra al extraño, por más que te pague bien, que el que su terruño vende, vende su patria con él. Nos estamos quedando sin país.